ever wondered how to evaluate the attractiveness of an industry and its competitive landscape? One of the most famous and widely used frameworks that helps you understand this is Michael Porter's 5 Forces model. It analyzes the external environment of a company and the encompassing industry's attractiveness along 5 forces. So, let's dive into it. Number 1. The threat of new entrants. Number 2. The threat of substitute products. Number 3. The rivalry among existing firms. Number 4. The bargaining power of buyers. Number 5. And the bargaining power of suppliers. This framework is often used by top management teams when they need to decide on a course of action and adapt their strategy to the competitive environment surrounding their company. The framework describes the industry's attractiveness, the competitive intensity within an industry, the possible strategy behind the success of the industry, the possibility of achieving long-term profits, and finally, the strength and potential of a company position in an industry. For example, based on the pricing power and subsequent demand of the industry's products or services. So let's go through each of the 5 forces. The first one is the threat of new entrants. The higher the profits of the firms operating in an industry, the bigger the incentive for new entrants. They want a piece of the pie and will be willing to join and compete to get it. As a company, you therefore ideally want to create barriers to entry. You can do this by creating a cost advantage. For example, you can have low-cost sources of raw materials, government subsidies, or less expensive localized resources in order to gain this advantage. Another barrier to entry related to costs is the achievement of economies of scale, which represent the proportionate savings in costs gained by an increased level of production. In such situations, new entrants may face high unitary costs if they operate on a small scale. As a company, you would like to create a product which is perceived by your clients as differentiated, so that you can be much more relaxed about the new competitors entering the market. Another obstacle for new entrants could be assessing channels of distribution, especially if they're lacking. And finally, creating barriers to entry are possible government policies. By tapping into these tactics, you can help protect your company against Michael Porter's first force, the threat of new entrants. This analysis helps you to understand the threat of new entrants and demonstrates how you can develop various barriers to entry. Okay, great. Let's move on to the second force, the threat of substitute products. Competition doesn't only come from companies operating in the same industry. Let's take a look at pizza restaurants. A pizza chef that delivers to her town is competing with all the other pizza restaurants in town. Right. However, the sushi restaurant 2 blocks away sells food too, and is competing within the same market. So, a person must choose if they want to have sushi or pizza first, and then decide which pizza restaurant they want to order from. The competing sushi restaurant offers a substitute product for consumers. Substitute products are goods or services that satisfy the same need as the one your product aims to satisfy. Like in this example, food, which satiates your hunger. If there are many products in a market that could substitute your product, the threat of substitution for your business is high. Be aware that sometimes it's not so easy to understand all the risks for substitute products of your industry. First, it is challenging to identify which substitute products can potentially take the most business out of your industry. And then, even if the company is aware of the substitute products it competes against, it's much more difficult to create barriers of entry for products in different industries. This analysis determines the attractiveness of an industry and helps you decide whether this is the niche you want to pursue.